Alright, what's going on, guys? Try back again, here to bring you another video. This one's going to be doing my review for this week's episode of Fear the Walking Dead Season 4. This is for episode 7 now. It is called The Wrong Side of Where You Are Now. Spoiler warning, if you guys have not seen this episode yet. So yes, there was a new episode of Fear the Walking Dead on tonight. Of course, there was a break week with Memorial Day weekend last weekend, so we finally got to see episode 7. And we have one more episode left next weekend for episode 8. And then we will have our mid-season break for Fear the Walking Dead Season 4. So we're finally getting to see sort of all these events kind of wrap up here. We're getting to the last little bit of the stadium to finally see how it fell. And in this episode near the end, we basically just get the start of that, kind of, I want to say, battle, or the fall of the stadium battle between the vultures and our fear group at the stadium. And this episode was pretty loaded. I mean, you had a lot of stuff happening in this episode in both timelines. So you have the current kind of now timeline, and I guess we'll go after that one first because that one does kind of start the episode off. And we have the battle between our very small group of fear survivors, being Alicia, Strand, and Luciana, against basically all of the vultures. And they do extraordinarily well considering the numbers. You know, if you guys look at the prior episode, was episode 6, when they kind of set this whole thing up. The vultures seemed to come in there with over a dozen people all fully armed, and then we had the fear group that just had literally a few of them here, and they were pretty fully armed as well too. Freaking Alicia's got a grenade launcher going here, so that was pretty sweet. But the battle did not go at all how I pictured it going, just based on the numbers alone. Yeah, the fear group pretty much landslide sweeps the vultures and takes out, I want to say, their leader. Like I said, spoiler warning, takes out Mel in this episode, which is a huge character death, I guess, for Fear, considering we don't have that many characters, and he was kind of our lead Fear villain at this time, and then we kind of get to see what's going on. So Alicia takes him out, which was wicked. I really liked that, and it really made Alicia feel like a villain in this one, which I really liked. It was kind of cool how they've kind of mixed in Morgan, but in a way that isn't the usual way that you would expect, where Morgan comes in and he's like, allied with the fear group, and they're kind of getting along well, and they kind of fight side by side. In fact, this is almost the opposite, where he's kind of there and just kind of in the middle of this battle between the vultures and the fear group, and so is Al, as well as John. Of course, John, I suppose, siding with Naomi because of their prior relationship and what have you. So you've got just this interesting mix here, where you have Morgan kind of in the middle, so he's helping to save Charlie from the others, and it really comes across as like the fear group are kind of the villains in this timeline from Morgan's perspective. But of course, he doesn't get to see all the stuff that happened at the stadium that we're seeing now in in this half season, and also of course in this episode as well too. So I really loved pretty much all the stuff that happened in the current timeline, and getting to see the the fear group do way better than I thought that they actually would do in terms of just the numbers of the battle and everything. But it was cool to see. It was fun to see Morgan in the middle, and it does look like John's going to survive, so I like that, as well as Naomi sort of joining up with Morgan here and Al in order to help him, versus staying with the vultures and however she's been staying with him so far. I don't know, but that was all good to see in this episode, and I did like to see kind of the kill scene on Mel. But in the flashback sequences, it almost is starting to look like right now that Mel wasn't that bad of a guy. Like his brother Ennis, who of course Nick already took care of, is actually worse than Mel is. I did kind of feel sympathetic towards Mel in this one, and I didn't think that I would, but it was just kind of such a brutal scene as he's kind of crawling out, and Alicia wants answers from him and is asking about like how long she was with him and everything like that, and before she says it basically doesn't matter, and she kills him in a broken or brutal fashion. So that was cool to see, and I did like the grenade launcher shot as Naomi kind of goes down as part of it. So that was most of the stuff we saw at the beginning of the episode from that kind of current timeline. We also had at the end them going back to the stadium, which is really cool, and you just get to kind of see them drive in. And they showed a little bit of this in the preview for next week's episode, the mid-season finale, as you just see like a bazillion zombies around, and a lot of them look kind of charred and kind of messed up. They just look to be in pretty bad shape, but they're just kind of everywhere, which was pretty cool to see as Al kind of drives in with the small splinter group that she has there with her. So that's kind of in the current timeline right now. So the gunfight was fun. I like to see all of that. Charlie narrowly gets away and says she's sorry, and you have Mel finally being put out of his misery in this one after he gets absolutely smoked by Alicia there. So we have all that stuff, and I enjoyed seeing all of that. So the stadium stuff, we get the intro and we get the stuff at the stadium in this one. So the stadium, I found this to be, it was exciting to watch, but it was also confusing as we're going through it, and also frustrating, because as I'm watching this episode through, I'm thinking to myself constantly that at that stage of the game, Madison, and I get that maybe they've had an easy time the last year or so living at the stadium, however long it's been, but I just felt like they should be smarter than this. Like, all around, they should be smarter than this. Because, okay, you have Charlie who comes back to them again, and they sort of give her a chance again, and I'm kind of against this right away. I mean, I guess they're trying to be the good guys, right? They're trying to be the good guys in Fear now. They're not bashing people's heads in with hammers like they were last season. So they're trying to be the good guys now. They're not delivering heads in bags and stuff like that, right? So they're, okay, we'll help you, this kind of thing. Set a good example for our kids, whatever. So Charlie brings them the sob story. They agree to help her. They go out and they get Mel. They find out that he's got some cracked ribs or whatever. Maybe Ennis beat him up a little bit or something, or, somehow got into an accident, whatever. He's hurt. So, okay. So they bring him in. They bring him to the stadium with them. You have Charlie, who's in there as well, too. And then at some point, eventually here, Madison gets upset at him, and she kicks him out. So she gives him a car, tells him to get lost. And then he goes out, and then Charlie gets the radio, whatever. And then Nick and Alicia decide to go and save him because he's in a bad way. He's in bad shape. And as you have Charlie and the others are kind of back there. And then, so there's some cool parts to it. They see Ennis kind of driving through with all the transport trucks and everything like that, loaded up with what we saw from the flags would be like thousands of zombies, or 1,000 plus at least zombies, which was really cool to see. I thought that was cool from a villain, and I do think he makes a really good villain because he's got kind of the weird, kind of out there hipster gear on. Like he's got like the jorts, which haven't been cool since like the 90s. Even then they weren't cool. He's got like, I don't know. He's got like the hipster, the shoes and everything, and the whole, he's got an interesting kind of look to him, right? So he's kind of going in there. You got the others that are all going in with the transport trucks and everything as they're kind of bringing in all the zombies. So that was really exciting. I love that part, to see them kind of drive by, and Nick is like, holy hell, turns the lights off and everything's like, oh my god. So they try to race them back there, and they're able to get there just ahead of the vultures as they're coming in with an ice cream truck and the other stuff they got, putting down some like an oil spill here and lighting it on fire. So the part that I found the most frustrating, first of all, I found it pretty frustrating that Charlie and Mel have already kind of played a trick on them once already. They're known to be very tricky, like that's kind of their deal, right? And then the fear group still agrees to help them anyway. It's like, what? It's like I don't get this. Like, how could you go out there and help this guy? I don't get it. It's very, very strange to me. He's obviously not a good guy. And I don't know. Maybe it's because we know the current timeline, so we know how things turn out. So it just seems so strange to me to see them do these things. I guess that probably has something to do with it. If we were watching the story through and we didn't know how things turned out, then it wouldn't be so frustrating to watch it, because it's kind of like watching a car crash. You know it's going down. You know the result of what happens here, and we're just kind of getting to see the details filled in here as we get to see these flashback sequences. But I just found them really frustrating. So you have Nick and Alicia and Mel that are in the car, and they're trying to get back inside the stadium in time here. And it's pretty obvious that they're not going to get there in time. It's not going to work. So they proceed to sit in the car, which I'm pretty sure still has gas. I'm pretty sure it's not like they ran out of gas or something, or the car died. Because unless I missed something here, I don't know. But it just was really strange. You have them, they're just kind of sitting there. They're waiting to see if they can get inside the gates. They're kind of waiting to see how this goes. Meanwhile, there's like a bazillion zombies coming out of these transport trucks and stuff. And what do? They proceed to just sit there. There's like a million zombies surrounding the car. And it's like, hey guys, however many years we are in the zombie apocalypse now. I haven't done a timeline video recently, so maybe I'll do one of those in a month or so. But we can kind of get a better understanding of logically where they're at right now. But if it's wherever it happens to be, if it's 2.5 years with Morgan, if it's 3 years, 4 years, however many years it's been to this current time that they've been surviving in the zombie apocalypse, since season 3. I mean, it's just like, it's so crazy to me that they just sit there in this car and just let their car become absolutely swarmed. And if there's something wrong with the car, something like, you're waiting to get in, I get it, but you can't just sit there, I mean, if you're in the driver's seat and you've been surviving in a zombie apocalypse for 3 or 4 years, you're pretty hardened at this point. You realize, I cannot let these zombies surround this car. Whatever happens, if I have to drive off and run away, I'm going to drive off and run away and say, screw it, you guys deal with it at the stadium. We're leaving. We'll figure it out on our own from there. But I'm not going to let this bazillion zombies surround my vehicle so I can't get away at that point. And that's exactly what they do. And I found this to be just like the most frustrating thing ever. And I know, I get it. They're waiting to see. They're trying to find out if they can get in safely or whatever. And they're just kind of watching this car crash happen all around them. You have the ice cream truck, these troll villain vultures, with their ice cream, and just a bazillion zombies being unleashed on them right outside of the gates. And then, of course, because the two most important people in the world to Madison are right out there, both her kids are right out there in harm's way now, so she wants to open the gates at this time. So, I mean, I don't know what to say about this, guys. Leave a comment below. I just found this to be so frustrating. I'm like, you guys should be better than this at this point. You should be more. Like, I'm trying to think if Rick and the others would fall for something like that if they dealt with the vultures and if the vultures came up to Alexandria like that. I tend to think they wouldn't. And I just felt like with the fear group, it just made them look so inconsistent with how we've seen them act in season 3 and prior, where they just seemed like they were so, like Madison was so strategically advanced. She just seemed like she really had it together, and she was really smart, and she knew how to deal with people like this. And it just really makes her feel right now like she's just this desperate, mother trying to protect her kids, and her kids are getting, Carl won't stay in the house, the kids won't stay in the stadium, and this is a whole cluster F, and they don't know how to apparently drive the car. They freeze up or whatever at the worst time ever, which I guess is possible. But at the same time, it's just like, oh my God, well, they're just surrounded by a million zombies. It's like, so frustrating. So that said, I mean, it was exciting to watch the episode through. It wasn't like, oh, nothing was happening during the episode as a second last episode to this half. No, it's a lead up to your mid-season finale, and it is very exciting, and it brings into question where Madison is currently and what happened to her. But again, kind of the idea that I had first is like, what if she sacrifices herself to save her kids or something? Is that what we might see? And I'm still thinking that might be what we'll see in the mid-season finale. It'll be the topic for a video this week. I guess maybe tomorrow we'll do that as a first Q&A. Will Madison sacrifice herself to save Nick and Alicia this time? But I'm just like sitting here thinking to myself like, oh my gosh, man, this is just so frustrating to watch this through. But anyway, aside from that, I mean, you have them kind of going out. We have kind of a lot of setup here to this, to see how this whole thing is going to play out in the mid-season finale here. Looks like there's going to be a ton of zombie kills, both in the stadium timeline as well as the current modern timeline. And I do really like, one thing I like a lot is how they're kind of putting Morgan in this strange position where it's sort of like he's kind of stuck in the middle, neutral, trying to help this little girl Charlie that he sees. And then to him, it like he really perceives the fear group as being like villains, or like he's just not sure. Like he knows the vultures are not good people, but he certainly is seeing the fear group right now and how savage they can be at the same time. So in terms of a score for the episode, I mean, it was nice to kind of see the episode. It gave us a little bit of Walking Dead break from all the Rick leaving craziness that's been going on this week with the original Walking Dead series. So that was good. But I just found it to be so strange to see all the decisions, all the logic, and just the position that they end up in at the end of this episode. Just to me felt like just so nuts. Like, what is going on here? So in terms of a score, I know there was a big character death with Mel and that whole thing, and it is a good setup episode for the mid-season finale, but I have a lot of problems with the Fear group at the stadium's behavior, their decisions, and just kind of how we're seeing them behave based on what they've been through. With everything they've been through so far, and seeing the evil of people and what people can do, I know they want to be the good people and they want to help Mel, or they want to do whatever, Charlie, and what have you. But I just feel like at the same time, yeah, you can do that, but you don't want to be a sucker at the same time, right? You can be nice and you could be able to help people, but you don't want to be a sucker yourself and get, fooled by the vultures and everything that's happening right now. And I also thought the vultures would probably try to ram the gates in. So maybe we'll see that in the next episode, the mid-season finale. But I figured one of those huge semi-trucks they might try to ram right through the gates to knock the gates down. But it sounds like they might not even need to do that since Madison is opening them up, since her kids got surrounded by a million zombies. So in terms of score for the episode, I mean, visually it's a great episode. The action's fun. The zombies are cool. The modern timeline was wicked awesome to see. But I got to give this one like a 6.5. Really, that's average for me, just because I felt like it was just so strange, all their behavior. And I don't want to say it's a horribly bad episode or anything like that. It's just that I wanted to give, in my mind, I want to give the Fear group more credit and feel like they're smarter than what we've seen from them this season. I really feel like there's a big difference here between how they were acting in season 3 and how intelligent they seem to be, and how evolved they seem to be in the zombie apocalypse, and how we're seeing them behave now. Because right now they seem to be acting like a bunch of buffoons, and I just can't stand that. And I'm just like, I get where they're trying to go. I just feel like it makes the Fear group look too just kind of stupid, or too like just suckers. It makes them look like they're too much of suckers, that they should be more clever than this, and they should be wiser than this. But at the same time, though, it does really seem like Mel is genuinely hurt and is genuinely kind of a victim here as to what's going on. Maybe he was getting into it with Ennis. He tried to stop him from, doing what he's going to do here at the stadium or something. So, okay, but I don't want to sound like I hate the episode. I didn't hate it. It's a great setup episode in terms of the mid-season finale this weekend coming up. Should be really exciting. And you guys can certainly leave your comments below. I'll be back in about half an hour for the predictions for the mid-season finale video for you guys. But leave a comment below. Let me know how you feel about this, guys. If you've seen every episode of Fear up until current date, if you've seen the first 3 seasons, did you feel like I'm feeling right now, where you're looking at the same, like Strand is there? Strand's pretty damn smart. He's pretty cunning. You can't bullshit a bullshitter, and somehow it just seems to all be like working out, so that the Fear group is just making these ridiculous like decisions, or just inaction. Like they're just sitting there at the gate while this group just rolls up with all this stuff. They don't open fire. They don't do anything. They just sit there, just like, okay, let's just sit here and watch everything happen without doing anything, without countering, without firing back, without trying to hit people, without sending out some trucks themselves and trying to shoot off and take down. I don't know. Without doing anything. Even though they have the heads up on the radio, they just basically stay there and do nothing. Let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment below. And if you like this review video, please thumb it up below. You can also share, you can favorite. And if you're new and you want to subscribe to the channel, do so at the bottom left if you want to see all the new Fear the Walking Dead videos I got coming for you guys, for this season, as well as all the regular Walking Dead stuff too. Be sure to subscribe. That's it for this one. I'll see you guys again soon for the predictions video for the mid-season finale. As always, it's Trev, and I'm saying peace. Later, guys. See you soon.